people are like Roth or die or or they're not. So it's not like that. I think of this as like you're sitting you're going to go to dinner and you've got the choice of one utensil. And these people are like, I just want one.
I got a bowl of soup. I'm going to use the fork anyways.
Exactly.
That's
They're
because
like,
I love the fork.
The fork's the best. It's like, it's not that one utensil is the best. You'd like to have all three, if possible. Welcome to the Zacc Call Money Education Channel. My name is Zacc Call. I'm the president of Capita Financial Network. Today is all about that Roth. That is our current season. This episode is episode number 3, and it is 16 ways to Roth wrong. So you're going to find basically everything that we've heard people do or say or assumptions that we've heard made that are incorrect. So this one's important. You need to really follow along with us through this process. Again, remember the first episode was the basics around why you should consider Roth or traditional and the bad math that most people do. And then the second episode was the 8 advanced reasons to go one way or another when it comes to Roth versus traditional. Now today we're talking about the 16 ways to do Roth wrong. Then we will teach you how to do Roth right. And then in the last episode, we'll cover a few very specific rules called the 5-year rules. Again, my name is Zacc Call. I'm here with Tyson Long from Capita as well.
Yep, Tyson Long, wealth advisor with Capita. I eat, sleep, drink, breathe Roth. So excited for this season. It's going to be awesome.
All right. So I think we dive right in and help us with bringing this to real life, Tyson, because as a wealth advisor, you see this all the time with particular clients that you work with or even just talking to the public. So we're going to go through 16 of these. So hang in there with us. We will try to make this as easy as possible to understand. Okay, the first one is misunderstanding commutative property. Now that's the mathematical term for it.
What grade is that? 6th grade?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
But the idea is A times B equals something. B times A equals the same something. So if you change the order of multiplication, it does not change the end outcome.
Right.
Same thing. A times B times C times D equals something. A times C, D, B. It doesn't matter what order we're in. It equals the same something. Now, the reason that applies to Roth is A could be the starting balance. B could be the tax rate. C could be the number of years. And then D could be the growth rate. Doesn't matter in what order you apply those things, whether the tax is at the beginning, the tax is at the end, as long as it is the same tax number, we have the same final outcome. That was the point we hit home hard in episode 1.
Yep.
It's just important for people to remember that that's how this works. So maybe some mathematical examples here. $100,000 times a 25% tax rate and an 8% growth rate over 10 years is going to be the exact same as $100,000 going through the growth first over 10 years and then paying the 25% tax. As long as those numbers all are the same, we're in the same boat. Okay. Beat that dead horse. Let's move on, shall we?
Yes,
okay.
Let's go.
The second topic is 3 different terms: effective tax brackets, marginal tax bracket, and then the marginal cost of the conversion.
This is an important one, the cost of the conversion.
Exactly.
Because that can be different than the other 2.
Right. So let's get those definitions out. But mixing those 3 things up is the mistake here. That's how you do Roth wrong. Effective tax bracket, basically, or effective tax rate is better put. If you take all your income and all the taxes you pay and figure out what percentage the taxes are of all your income, that is your effective tax rate. So that means you could be in multiple tax brackets with different portions of your income, and your effective tax rate could finally hit maybe 10%, 12%. We see a lot of that, pretty low rates in retirement.
Yeah. So in other words, you could have income that puts you in the 22% marginal bracket, but you still got income being taxed at 10 and 12, so it's a blend of all those, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
The effective tax rate is your blend, averaged out. The marginal tax is if you could say, I just want to, let's say you earned $100,000, $100,001. Let's put it that way. You earned $100,001. Well, I can't say that, Tyson. I don't know why. Let's try that again, though. So you have $100,001 of earning. That last dollar, what was the tax rate on that last dollar? That is your marginal tax bracket. Now, when you're thinking about a Roth conversion or a Roth contribution versus traditional contribution or just leaving money in your traditional IRA, you're going to be stacking on, think of it as stacking on income at the very end. If it's a conversion, that's very clear, right? Because you're just adding that as income on the end. But if it's a regular Roth, like a Roth contribution, you had the choice of reducing your income by that amount, doing traditional, or leaving it as reportable income, doing Roth. So the bottom line is you can think of the Roth as the last income you had to show on your tax return. So that last income might span two different marginal brackets. So you might be sitting, maybe you do a $50,000 Roth conversion and 25,000 of it is inside 12%, 25,000 of it is inside 22%. Well, your average rate on that is 17%. So the marginal cost of the conversion was 17%, not 12, not 22. The marginal bracket was 22. Their last marginal tax bracket is 22. And then the effective rate includes all their other income and averages it out. So the mistake is that we'll see people say, well, I'm in the 12% tax bracket, so I'm going to do a Roth conversion, and it's going to cost me 12%.
Right.
And we know it didn't. It cost 17 in that example, right? Or they think, oh, I'm in an effective rate of 10 overall or 8 overall. That's what matters, and that's what makes that's how I calculate the effectiveness of Roth versus traditional.
Right.
Okay. Anything else to add on that?
Yeah, I think on the marginal cost too, it can work with some of the add-on, the domino effect things we talked about, like the Medicare surcharges, like the IRMA surcharge. If you're receiving Social Security, executing a Roth conversion might cause more of your Social Security to get taxed. Which, if you're looking at just the tax brackets, you might be thinking, hey, if I do this conversion, I'm going to stay in the 12% bracket, but then whoops, more of my Social Security or something else happen in my tax situation to make the true cost more expensive.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. That's part of the marginal cost.
Right.
So maybe think of it as effective tax rate is a percentage. Marginal tax rate is a percentage. The marginal tax cost is $1.
Yep.
Like that's where rubber really hit the road. That's how much it cost you from a true dollars and cents standpoint of how much you had to pay.
Yep.
That's a really good point. And the Social Security torpedo thing is what it's called. What you just described, that's part of it. That's part of it for sure. Okay, number 3 is magic taxes paid. This is basically coming up with taxes in your analysis and not accounting for the fact that you actually did have to pay for them.
Forget about the taxes I paid.
Exactly.
Not account for those.
So let's say you have $10,000 going to a traditional or $10,000 going to a Roth. If you are putting $10,000 towards a Roth IRA, you are using about $13,000, $13,000. Right. So Tyson, explain to us why this is.
Yeah, I think, in order to get the $10,000 into the Roth, that's money that's you've paid taxes on. Well, that means you would have had to make more than that before taxes to have $10,000 to put into the Roth. Whereas with the traditional, I can take the $10,000. Let's say it's $13,000 that I needed in order to get 10 into the Roth after taxes. If I take that same $13,000 and only put 10 into the traditional IRA, I still have that $3,000, right?
Yeah, could have invested it in another account, or if you have contribution headroom, you could put $13,000 in the traditional. If you can't, and that number is above an IRA limit, but it's not above 401k limits, right?
Right.
But if you have already hit your max limit, so in our first episode, we talked about reason number 3 for doing a Roth is ultra max funding your retirement accounts, $30,000 if you're at above the catch-up limit towards 401k of Roth money is worth more than $30,000 of traditional money. Now, but $30,000 of Roth money means you spent, maybe $10,000 in taxes to get it there.
Exactly. It's easy to forget about that, though.
So that's the magic taxes that people are like, oh, and we get this in the comments a lot with this, where they're like, well, I'm doing Roth because I can only save up to this amount, and so I'm going to max fund it, which is actually one of the reasons we gave people to choose Roth or not.
Yeah.
I just want people to understand that from a math standpoint, it may be better for them. Like, let's go through an example of somebody making $1 million a year to make it very extreme. So someone making $1 million a year has a very terrible tax bracket. And I would have them, instead of max funding their Roth, I would have them max fund with traditional, and the taxes that they save, I'd have them drop that money into a brokerage portfolio. So they put the max contribution to a 401k, let's say it's $30,000 roughly for somebody who's old enough, and then that person probably saves about $15,000 in taxes for doing that. So then take that $15,000 and put it in a joint or individual brokerage account. And that is probably mathematically going to work better for that person than 30 to the Roth 401k.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. That's the magic taxes. That's number 3. Number 4 has to do with those same tax ideas. And this is an employer that both you and I worked at before had a tool. I don't know if you ever used that
Oh,
tool.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever I'd run that
For
tool,
better or worse. Yep.
you would put in you would answer this questionnaire on Roth conversion decision making. And at the very end, it would ask you, do you have money outside of the IRA to cover the tax bill for the conversion? And if you said no, it almost always would say, it would just shut it down. It was like the machine just shut off. It was like, no conversions
Don't
for
do
you.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a mistake, because the same logic could be put forth and said to a retiree who's 70 years old and they want to take money out of their IRA, and let's say they have no other resources to cover the taxes. They want to take money out of their IRA. What do we do in that scenario?
Withhold taxes.
We just withhold it.
Yeah.
So, and it's normal for us.
Yep.
So we go to the custodian and say, hey, withhold 10%, withhold 12%, and they send it directly to the government. By that same logic that old tool gave us, we should be telling a client, oh, you can't take money out of your account because you don't have the other money to cover the tax bill on it. They're going to pay taxes from the account later. So if they could pay now at a much lower rate, why don't we do that and save on it later?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I've heard this a lot before, which is, okay, if you have to withhold taxes from the conversion, you should never do a conversion. There is one caveat to this, which is if you are younger than 59 and a half, then withholding taxes from the conversion can be pretty problematic, because the conversion is not an early withdrawal, but the taxes are, and that causes a 10% penalty.
The IRS says, hey, you want to pay us taxes from your IRA, you're not 59 and a half, we're going to penalize you for paying us taxes, is what they're saying.
Exactly. Exactly. It does feel like they should throw in a specific rule, an exception to this, like, hey, any taxes you're paying directly to us should avoid
right
the 10%
to your congressman
penalty.
or congresswoman.
Yeah. Okay. Number 5 is looking at 1 year tax savings. People make a mistake here where they look at 1 year in isolation and say, I'm in this bracket, therefore I should do conversions or I should not do conversions. You could run into a client situation where they should do a conversion while in the 24% tax bracket, or they should do Roth contributions in the 24% tax bracket, and then look at an exact same current year tax situation of another client, another individual in the 24% tax bracket whose tax returns look almost identical, and they should not touch Roth. And it all has to do with this person is going to go up in tax rates and up in income, and this person is going to go down in tax rates and down in income. All that matters is not necessarily today. All that matters is today in comparison to some future year.
Right, because like you said, we're trading income in 1 year for another, and how can we make a decision on that without thinking about the future years? I can't make that in a 1 year isolated.
Exactly. So people will do that, wanting a rule of thumb, and we can give that to them, but the reality is it's 10 and 12% tax bracket most of the time should be using Roth.
Yeah.
And 32% tax brackets and up most of the time should be using traditional. And then 22 and 24 under our current tax law, those could go either way.
Yeah.
The only reason, though, is because we expect you to be in a higher tax bracket in the future So that's the reason those rules of thumb exist, is because we're comparing today versus the future, and we're making a guess that 10 and 12 is lower and 32 is higher.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Number 6. This is back to the same as kind of number 1, which is the order of multiplication. But sometimes people will make the assumption that a conversion done in year 1 or a contribution done in year 1 is going to be better than one done in year 4. It's this fallacy of thinking the sooner the better.
We got to get that money in the Roth growing tax-free sooner.
Exactly. So if you have $10,000 and you're going to pay 25% tax on it today, and I keep using 25 not because
it's easy math.
Yes, exactly. So I know you know that, but everybody else understand that not everyone is being taxed at 25%.
Yeah.
We're on a video and trying to make math easy here. But if you have $10,000 and you're taxed in year 1 because you did Roth contribution or conversion, and then you grow it to year 4, and then that will be the same as if you did traditional for 2 years and then converted it, that same money you converted to a Roth and then went for 2 years. It's not going to change the final outcome because it's, once again, it's just the same thing. You've got 4 years worth of growth. And so that's a multiplication of 4. Let's say it's 5% growth or 10% growth. I don't care what number we pick, but we're going to say it's 5 because you're maybe a really conservative investor. But so you're multiplying the balance times 1.05 times 1.05 times 1.0 over it, right? So whether you slot in multiplying it by a 25% tax bracket here or here, it doesn't matter because it's just the same multiplication, just in different orders. So sometimes people will get that misunderstanding as well. Like, oh, I got to do this sooner because it's going to help.
What about the question of, should I be doing Roth conversions when markets go down? Like, is that a good time to do it? Would the same thinking apply?
Are you asking, does the same fallacy exist? Not really. Not really. No, it's a great question. It doesn't. There is an opportunity for taking advantage of that. So this is doing Roth right. Yes. That's not this video, Tyson.
Okay. Well,
no, I'm just messing
that was
with
a good time to.
It's a really good question.
Let's
hit it because if you have, let's say you have $30,000 of headroom in a particular tax bracket, and the markets drop, you're going to be able to convert a larger portion of your portfolio in that $30,000
there it is.
headroom.
More shares, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
More shares.
Gotcha.
So it is absolutely true.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm leading the witness there. Thank you.
That was wonderful. Okay. So then number 7, using different growth rates to determine if a Roth conversion is appropriate. So you're saying like, well, when I invest in my Roth, I invest more aggressively. It's 10% growth over there. And when I invest in my traditional, it's 7% growth because I invest more conservatively. That's fine if you want to do that, but you're going to get an outcome that says always pay taxes and convert to Roth and contribute to Roth, when in fact it may have been more mathematically advantageous for you to just invest your traditional account more aggressive and make the traditional contribution, or leave it and don't do a conversion.
I think the focus is the Roth conversion question is a tax question, not a growth question.
Yeah, so don't throw growth differences in there. Don't throw 3 variables at a system and wonder why you can't figure out what to do.
Right.
I keep all the other variables the same and then isolate the tax variables, make that decision. Now, are we saying you should not invest your Roth differently?
No.
No. We're not. We're saying you should invest your Roth differently.
But don't make the Roth conversion decision based on that.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So the reality is you should invest differently. Okay. This next one is somehow thinking an IRA is the investment and that a Roth or traditional will perform better, one or the other. It's not like there's this set of investment options that are only available in a Roth and a set of investment options only available in a traditional.
Right.
And when you go into each of those rooms, you're looking at a different menu. That's not the way that works. The menu is the same in both rooms. And for the most part, you're going to have access to pretty much anything you want in either of those rooms. So don't assume that the tax status impacts performance.
It changes investment options.
You got it.
Because it doesn't, yeah.
Okay, number 9, forgetting about the automatic tax diversification due to employer matching. In the first episode of this season, which if you haven't watched, you've got to watch that episode before you really understand all of these ways to do it wrong. But the fourth reason for going one way or another on Roth versus traditional is to have more control around your marginal tax brackets, to have diversification of tax status so that you can pull from the different sources. And people forget that when they make a Roth contribution, most employers are matching with pre-tax dollars.
And they did change that recently where employers can do Roth matching, but employers are not incentivized to do the Roth matching. So most likely it's still going to be traditional pre-tax matching.
Yeah, and there's an incentive aspect there. It's 2025. That wasn't that long ago.
Yeah,
and the employers are not necessarily equipped with the record-keeping tools to be able to manage that just yet. It's just getting introduced into the providers that help with that stuff. So you're getting a little bit of Roth and traditional when you do Roth only. Yeah. That's important.
Which isn't a bad thing. That can be a good thing. Gives you that degrees of freedom we talked about.
You got it. Number 10, mixing up income limit rules for 401ks versus IRAs. In some previous videos I've done, I've given examples of this person's making $500,000 and contributing to a Roth on their 401k, and they'll say, wait a second, the contribution limits for a Roth are around $200,000. You can't do that. That's true. You can't do that to an IRA. Mm-hmm. 401ks don't have
the income phase outs is around 200,000.
Yes.
What we're saying.
Yeah. So good. Thank you. Good clarification. So you can't, once you hit a certain amount, the IRS says you make too much money to make a Roth IRA contribution. And they don't have that rule on 401ks.
No income limit. Yeah.
And there's no income limit on a conversion from IRA to from an IRA to a Roth IRA. Okay, that was number 11, actually. That's thinking that income limits apply to conversions.
IRS is happy to collect taxes now. I mean, they need that tax money right now.
Exactly. Okay, number 12, becoming religious about one or the other. I've found that people are like Roth or die or they're not. So it's not like that.
It's like our version of ride or die. We're going to go Roth or die.
Roth or die, exactly. I think of this as like you're sitting you're going to go to dinner and you've got the choice of one utensil, and these people are like, I just want one. I
got a bowl of soup. I'm going to use the fork anyways.
Exactly.
That's because I love the fork.
The fork's the best. It's not that one utensil is the best. You'd like to have all three if possible. But some people will say, well, if I have to pick just one, I'm picking the fork or I'm picking the spoon. I actually had a bunch of people comment on that and say, well, I'd pick the knife because I can make another tool with it. It's like, once again, we're missing the point.
Yeah.
And they're missing the point. You do not need to pick. Make sure you have all three. That's the same thing with Roth, traditional, and after tax. Okay, number 13. There's a lot here. Stick with us. But number 13 is misunderstanding the 5-year rules. We're going to hit this later. I think it's probably better for us to save this for its own episode because of how much is going on here. But there are 2 5-year rules. And one of them has to do with just starting a Roth IRA at all at any institution. It's like this. The clock starts once you've made your first contribution to a Roth anywhere. And then the second rule has to do with each conversion that you do. So there's a contribution forever 5-year rule, and there's a 5-year penalty rule for conversions. And those two interact, and they also change based on whether or not you're above or below 59.5. That's pretty involved, but that's one that we constantly see. People think there's one 5-year rule, so they think by contributing one time, they're done.
Yeah.
And the 5-year conversion rule still kicks in, or they think that every contribution has a 5-year rule. It's like, no, there's 2 different rules. So we'll hit that later, but that's number 13.
That'll be a good video.
Number 14 is misunderstanding the withdrawal order. When you have a Roth IRA, the money comes out in a very specific order as you take withdrawals. Contributions, conversions, then earnings. And
so it's like balsamic vinegar, olive oil, water, right? Stacking on top of each other in the
That's exactly right.
Glass.
Is that how they? I'm not good with that.
That's
is
just
that
how
the
I
order
visualize.
that they go in
I don't
when
know.
you actually?
I probably. If I had to guess, I would say so.
Okay.
I know contributions, conversions, and earnings, balsamic vinegar, oil, and water. I'm just guessing on how those are going to work.
I talked about I used oil and water as an example for tax rates and capital gain rates and ordinary income rates and how they stay apart and then one drops to the bottom and I mentioned it was because of the different weights or something like that, which I didn't love chemistry. I liked physics and engineering and like anything in that world. And in the comments in YouTube, somebody was like, "Well, bro knows his math really well, but really didn't do so hot at chemistry." Anyway,
that's why we're here.
That's why we're here, and not doctors. So, looking at the order, your contributions are the first thing that come back out, and your contributions to a Roth are going to be tax-free, penalty-free to you at any time, at any age. People forget that. So, you put money into a Roth, you could pull it out next year without any type of tax or penalty. So that's contributions. Conversions, that's where that 5-year rule starts to come into play. And earnings has the forever 5-year rule along with age. We'll go through that in a future episode. Number 15. So this is not looking at the present value of taxes in a lifetime projection analysis. When you do a Roth analysis right for a retiree, what we're talking about here is how much should a retiree take from the various accounts to live, and is there room and should they do Roth conversions and slot in different additional taxable income in order to smooth out and optimize their tax returns over their entire lifetime. Now, the biggest mistake that we see, and only a few software systems that we've built our own tools, we've looked for all the software we can to help with a lifetime analysis of Roth conversions, and the best ones right now handle this well. Yeah. And what they do is they say, okay, you're going to pay this amount in taxes over your lifetime. Let's say it's $2 million, just to keep life fairly simple. If I have to pay $2 million in 2 years, $1 million each, that is extremely different than paying $2 million over the course of 20 years, right? $100,000 a year. Mm-hmm. Very, very different, because I don't have to give up all that money and I get to grow my wealth before I have to pay those taxes. So procrastinating or delaying your tax payment as long as possible is very different and much more beneficial to you than having to pay it all up front if it's the same dollar amount. So having to pay $100,000 a year for 20 years, you could probably accomplish that with 1-point-something million in a savings account that earns interest.
Like an escrow account you're setting aside to say, hey, here's my tax payment account for the rest of my life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could kind of almost turn off taxes in your brain like, I did it. I put it over here in this escrow account. That's not the reality of how it's set up, but mathematically you could do that, right? It's not $2 million. It's much less than $2 million in order to fund $100,000 a year for 20 years. Okay, so that's called a net present value. What is the present value of those $100,000 payments over 20 years versus the present value of two $1 million payments? I'm using big numbers just to help people conceptualize it.
Yeah.
This is not normal. Those numbers are not normal.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good, and only a couple software tools that we've run into do this well. Number 16. No software does this well. We are manually factoring this stuff in, and we are manually adjusting the software, and it is incredibly difficult.
Really hard.
I'm reminded of, without going too long here, I loved the Marvel movies, and there's that point.
Up until Avengers Endgame. After that, verdict's still out.
Fair enough. I think it was Endgame, but when the time stone, and I don't love it enough to know everybody. But okay, there's this moment where they pull the time stone out and it creates a new it's a new timeline, and basically they diverge. When you do a Roth conversion, it's like you've pulled the time stone out of the line. What's happened is you've created a new reality for you. And what I mean by that is, let's say that someone has $2 million of IRA money. And again, I'm using big numbers. This isn't everyone, but it helps to see things more clearly when you're talking about bigger numbers. It could be 200,000, doesn't matter. You do a $200,000 Roth conversion. You convert 10% of your IRA money. In the future, you have a new reality where you could pull some from your traditional and some from your Roth and turn taxes off at certain brackets. So if you don't factor that in to the year 2 through 30 or whatever it is, that you actually have the ability to manage your marginal tax brackets better, you'll make the mistake assuming that your future tax situation is going to be worse than it really will. Every time you do a conversion, you've just given yourself an extra tool to be able to manage your brackets. And basically what I'm saying is you don't have to go crazy doing Roth conversions. Every time you do one, it's almost like you have to erase the assumptions in these tools and say, here's my new tool set.
Yeah.
Now what does it look like?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to the 8 advanced reasons where we talked about if you're a guru and a ninja at managing your marginal tax brackets, it kind of reduces the effectiveness or need for additional Roth conversions because now you've got those tools.
Exactly, exactly. So let's say someone did 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years worth of Roth conversions. Well, now they may have half their accounts in different places. They have incredible control. They can fill up 10 and 12% tax brackets, turn it off, take Roth withdrawals, and never touch the 22% tax bracket. Now, most financial planning software used by most financial advisors, and this is what makes us the most angry about those software tools, is that they have very strict ordering rules. They have very strict rules as to how they project how you're going to take those withdrawals. And oftentimes they'll drain those pre-tax accounts all the way down to 0, and then they'll start on the Roth. And in reality, if your advisor is good or if you are good at managing your tax brackets, you're not going to draw one tax status all the way down and then go to the next tax status. You're going to be pulling from them to manage the different lines that you're looking at.
Yep.
So what I'm saying is doing Roth wrong, number 16, is don't feel bad about this one because not even the software is good at this right now.
Yeah.
You are the mistake is you might not be seeing the new realities you created. You might not realize you pulled the time stone out and gave yourself a whole new tool chest.
You got to be like Doctor Strange when he's like doing his thing and he sees the million different outcomes. That's kind of the analysis we got to do, right?
Exactly. And it's a very time-consuming analysis because our back end, we have a central planning team person, a team of central planning team members that basically they take the analysis and say, all right, we're going to do a bunch of iterations of this, and we're going to see this conversion of this amount, how much does it impact the future tools that we have, and then tweak it up and tweak it down to see what it does.
Central planning team's the official name. It's the Doctor Strange team.
Doctor Strange team. You'll have to tell Kim that's her new nickname. Okay, she's the lead of our central planning team. All right, I think that's it. 16 ways to do Roth wrong. Hopefully that's not too negative because the next episode, we're going to teach you exactly how to do it right.
And guys, don't forget, if you want more information on Capita and to see our disclosures, check the link in the description below. Make sure to like, subscribe, throw a comment in. Would love to hear your thoughts.
And if you've had any other way that you've heard people doing Roth wrong, put it in the comments. I'd love to know what else is out there. I don't necessarily want that list to get too much longer, but I'd love to know what else is out there. Happy to help and excited you're here.